On today's episode, we welcome a special guest, Denis D'Entremont, owner at Southwest Tech Solution. Denis, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Maxime. Glad to be here.
Thanks. So let's start with your business. What inspired you to launch this business, and why did you start in this industry?
Yeah, well, I've been in IT and voice communications for about 20 years now, and I was working for my previous employer, and I ended up getting laid off due to a shortage of work. And Oh, I went out and I tried to find a job. I applied to a whole bunch, and for a few months I was kind of hoping to be able to get to land a good job, and I
Mhm.
guess it just didn't happen. And I've always wanted to run my own business, so I thought, well, I might as well try start building something. So for the first little
Mhm.
bit, I started working on building the business, doing the business plans and stuff, but I kept looking for work.
Yeah.
Um, and then I applied for some government funding and got some funding and started. I said, well, I'm going to stop looking for work now because I got a little bit of funding, and here we are.
Huh. How long,
Yeah.
how long is that? How long does that been? How long did you start it?
It'll be 2 years this spring, so 2 years in March. So it hasn't. Well, I guess a little over a year and a half, or about a year and a
Okay.
half, I guess.
Nice. And
Yeah.
you still like because sometimes the IT service side and then the business side is two different thing. You got that pretty okay with the time, or?
Yeah, I took a lot of training courses online and through the government program that I was on. It was called Self-Employment Benefit Program, and it was here in Nova
Yeah.
Scotia. And so I got paid. I was able to continue with my employment insurance from the government. Plus, the Nova Scotia government kicked some money in. But they also, it's not all just about money. It's they provided free training. There was business management training,
Mhm.
bookkeeping, all kinds of stuff that I was able to, because it's one thing knowing the IT side of things. Business side, I didn't really know anything. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's how so because of that, I was able to learn the business side through
Mhm.
all that. Yep.
I can definitely connect with that, thinking you're like, oh, I have this skill set, and then I'll just push it to people, and everyone's gonna come and buy it. And then you start your business, and then no one comes, and you're like, why isn't anyone coming to me as a client? So
Yeah.
that's all the marketing, the business side that you have to like learn, and then it's another ball game completely.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
so, as your role as the CEO in your business, are you ends on all the tech thing, or you just decision making? What's your role in the business?
Well, I am the business. So
Okay.
basically, I don't have any employees at the moment. I work for myself and by myself. So I do all of it. Yeah, so I handle both sides of things. Hopefully it won't be that way forever. I do have intentions on expanding, but
Nice.
we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Okay. And how's that going for like your time wise, time management with all the clients? Is it kind of okay, or it's over the
Yeah,
top though?
yeah, it's as time goes on, as I pick up more clients, it's becoming harder and harder to
Yeah.
manage both sides. So that's where I can see, the hours are starting to creep up, and because I've got to do the regular IT work during the day, right?
Yep.
When my customers need me to work for them. And then in the evening is when I can do my books and do my
Mm,
marketing and that kind of stuff. So
okay.
but we haven't reached that tipping point yet where I have too much, right? So, hopefully that'll come sooner than later, and then I would be able to
Yeah.
afford to hire somebody to do some stuff, right? So,
Absolutely. I like
yeah.
that. And so in your 20 years as just in the industry, what have you seen change into small businesses, IT services? What's the big changes that you saw for yourself?
Really the big change is kind of, well, I mean, cloud computing has been a huge change, right? So that was like one of the biggest changes I saw that's been kind of going on for a while, right? Where everything used to be on premise, everybody
Mhm.
had their Microsoft Exchange, their Active Directory, all their applications were in their quote unquote server room or, communications closet or whatever.
Mhm.
And then, a few years ago, we started to see, I thought, I guess for me, the real tipping point where I kind of seen it really kick into high gear was like in the probably 2013, 14, 15-ish,
Yeah.
where I saw it. And I say that because I was working for a company at the time that they were developing a hosted solution for one of their products, which was really the first time that I got to see the power of the cloud,
Mm,
right? So it's really then that I was like, because and I was working on a voice communication platform at the time. I was doing like general support. Actually, I was like one of the senior engineers in the support team there, and we went. We were starting to see a shift from on-premise hosted applications that we would have to go and set up in somebody's server room to the start of some components of that platform was starting to be hosted online, and then that particular vendor started to basically in the background develop a whole completely new system to replace the on-premise system, right? And eventually, like my career kept me going down the same path, and I eventually saw the sunsetting of that original product, and then the full like realization of the cloud product, and how like so I got to watch that kind of go from beginning to end, which was
mm,
or not to end really, but from beginning to full realization. And I just thought like so that's really where I saw one of the big changes. And of course now we've got AI, which to me we're still with AI, we're still in the beginning.
yeah.
Um, I struggle with like I'm at the point where I know we need to do AI, and I do have services that I provide my customers, but I also we're still in the very infancy of AI where we have to be concerned about things like security and quality of the data and all that kind of stuff, right? Because we know AI hallucinates, AI makes things up sometimes, and so we're at a point where it's really awesome to see the innovation of AI and to see what's happening, but there's certain areas that like I'm personally hesitant to kind of throwing everything into AI, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah.
And how do you bring AI into your packages as the MSP, or what do you bring? You just said you bring it to some of the businesses. How do you use it?
Yeah, so a lot of times we start and businesses I find are often especially it's funny because there's a certain like really large businesses are often hesitant to change anything, and small business like very small businesses I find are also hesitant to change. Like I deal a lot with the small businesses from like 1 to 10 employees a lot. Sometimes I've got customers that are bigger than that, but a lot of what I see where I am are 1 to 10 employees, and they have an office somewhere, and they might have 4 or 5 computers, whatever. Um, and they have a hard time. They're reluctant to change too because they don't necessarily have maybe they don't have the budget, or maybe they don't have the manpower to learn all the new things, right?
Mhm.
So I try to start people off with AI, especially my customers that use like say Google Workplace
Right.
um, or like Microsoft 365.
Mhm.
I'm on Google myself here, and um, I like to kind of introduce them to, okay, here's what you can do with AI as far as like, you can summarize your emails, or like in Google, like now automatically I just get a summary at the top of my email, right? So if you send me an email, it says, Maxim is just reminding you of, your meeting tomorrow.
Mhm.
And like I can get the bullet points, and then I know, okay, do I have to follow up? Do I have to, and then where it becomes a bit more interesting is when I try to like, especially customers that are really data focused, when I get them into using AI and things like Google Worksheets, or
Mhm.
even in like Google Docs, whatever, so that they can reword things very easily, or they can write like complex data analysis tools like right in a spreadsheet, right?
Mhm.
Where, before you needed to know like Visual Basic, VBA to, script something in Excel. Now you can just, you know, go in there with some AI and say, bing, bang, boom, I need a formula that does this and I want a graph. And, you have to tweak it, but you can get, you know, 85 to 90% of the way on most things in that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So so it's mostly gonna be AI for admin and not for like IT works or nothing like that for now.
For now, like I do, like there's things that I use AI for. Like for example, if I want to write a script, if I need a script that like a utility script, something that goes into that goes into a directory on a server or a website or something and cleans it up and says, I want to delete all the files that are whatever, I will use that. I'll use AI to write the script. I mean, I know how to do the scripting myself, so I'm
Mhm.
comfortable because I can understand what the scripting is doing, right?
Yeah.
So rather than having to sit down and type that out, I get, AI to give me, the basics of it, and then I tweak it as I go.
Mhm.
And oftentimes I'll throw it into something like N8N or something, which is something I've been, playing with quite a bit lately is automation and how that can hook into with AI. But
Mhm.
like I'll use my scripts in N8N to kick off daily jobs or daily, things that I need to do.
Okay.
If I got, you can do anything with that really. Like if you got spreadsheets that you need to, or if you get CSV files that you need to import into a database and stuff, like instead of writing a Python script that you have to run in a cron job and do all these things, you can,
Mhm.
use out of the box tools and a little bit of AI and bing bang boom. So I'm
Mhm.
slowly getting into that kind of stuff, and I do use some of that stuff on my customer side of things, right?
Okay.
And in the cybersecurity world, AI is becoming pretty big as far as like being able to analyze um, threats and malware and stuff, which is that's not something that customers really like. They see the result of that, but they don't really see how that works, right? Because all these, security companies have their own, for the most part, proprietary trained AIs that do the malware analysis, the way they want to do it, right? But, we're seeing things a lot like that too.
And coming to the client like expectation with all the AI tech growing, you talked about cloud. Is it now like a baseline of always wanting cloud with maybe a bit of AI? Is it how does client are evolving with those new technology coming in?
Yeah, I mean, right, like these days, when I set up a new customer, there's almost like everything's almost 100% cloud,
Okay.
right? So we have, we'll have their email, there'll be a Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace, or they'll be on some sort of hosted PBX for their phone. Their marketing platform or their CRM, whether they're using like HubSpot or Pipedrive or something like that, that's all online.
Yeah.
Um, so we're going from, instead of having to, really a lot of times as a tech support or an MSP, where in the past I would have had to, configure and maintain all these servers somewheres, right? A lot of what I see now is, you know, learning and configuring the services themselves, right? Like knowing how to use HubSpot or knowing how to use N8N, or, and not so much necessarily having to be in the back end configuring, like installing it, right?
Mhm.
A lot of that is just maintained by the, whatever hosting company or whatever platform you're on.
Mhm.
Um, I do have some customers that do like to have things on premise. I've got customers that have like their phone system is still, in their office in the closet.
Okay.
There's still a market for a lot of those because, a lot of people like the fact that, if their internet goes out, they can still call between the offices from one end of the building to the other, that kind of thing, right? So, or if again, like if you're using everything online, it's all dependent on your internet connection, right? So
Mhm.
some people like to have file storage. They like to have a little box in somewheres that stores their files, and then we back that up to the cloud. Whatever. So there's so many different ways. A lot of MSPs like to focus on like here's what I offer, and it's like a clear cut box solution
Yeah.
that's like, if you're my customer, you get these 5 pieces of software, and it is $200 a month per seat
Hmm.
kind of thing. Well, for me, I have some setups like that, but I really try hard to work with the customer to see, okay, what does the customer actually need,
Okay.
and what can I offer them based on what they need, right? So I try to create them a customized plan
Okay.
that can tailor to what they need.
Is that a bit harder to scale the business since you always go customized plans though? Because
It,
sometimes business will come with legacy and
yeah,
then they want to like hybrid stuff or they want to switch it up all the way. So how does it work with like business wise with that?
yeah, that can be a challenge. And against some advice that I have received, because a lot of people, there there's a lot of, like, if you look online and you look on Reddit, you look on all these different places, there's communities of people that, they're very experienced and they know the business, but I find that, like, I guess maybe it's just where I am and what I'm used to. Like, I've found it works better for me to offer my services, and then once I get a chance to go in and see a customer and see what they're doing, then I can tailor some sort of contract or some sort of agreement, retainer agreement or something. Like, I have customers that don't want any, like, that I don't really provide them with any software, that they just, like, they already had, like, say, their Office 365.
Mm,
And because a lot of the businesses that I work with don't, like, they never had a tech person sometimes. Like, it was like somebody who, maybe the person who started the business was knowledgeable enough in tech and set everything up. So, but oftentimes what I do is I have customers that, they want, like, okay, they want someone that they can call when they have issues, right? So I
mm,
know everything they've got. Like, I've got an inventory of, their systems and but some of the things that they have, they're invested enough into them that they really don't want to change that out at the moment. Like, specifically, some, it's like their old telephone systems, right? Where they paid, I don't know how much, like, 10 years ago, and they feel like it's still serving them well.
mm,
So I go in and I give them the options. Here we can do this cloud solution, or we can, whatever. But they decide, well, I really want to keep what we've got, but maybe we need, instead of having like an old style copper telephone line coming in from, the telephone provider, they might want like a SIP trunk, or
mm,
some sort of, like, internet based provider for that, right? So I work a lot with those types of situations.
okay.
But I'm hoping, what I've been doing recently is I've been putting together some various different packages of software that, once I get my software stack nailed down really well, um, I'm going to be able to focus more on specific products.
Mm,
And then I'll be in a place where, if a customer comes and says, well, I want you to do my tech support, and they have like Office 365, I'll be able to transfer their Office 365 over to, you know, over to me, so that I can, fully manage it, kind of thing. And I've got customers that I've started from scratch that I do that with. Actually, typically I end up with, putting my customers on Google because they seem to really like that.
mhm,
But I set that up for them, and that's what I've been starting to do, is set that up, and then we'll manage their patching and their, computer updates and stuff with, a specific product, usually Action One, which is a product that I use quite a bit. Um,
okay.
and like, I've got a couple of different telephone vendors that I use, and those are strict. Like, it depends on what feature set the customer needs, because we got some that are more advanced than others. And
Hmm. And
so,
that
yeah,
you just talked about some clients that you sometimes try to do their own system with like Microsoft. Do you see that now? Because with ChatGPT, everyone thinks they have the answer to everything. Do you
yeah,
see a lot of not damaging things that people did, but like wrong thing that people
yeah,
were? oh, ChatGPT told me to do this, so I did this, and then you come in as the actual IT guys, and you're like, that's just not it. Do you have
Yeah.
any example of that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, um, I actually going back to telephone systems, I've
Mhm.
seen, I did have a customer at one point that had taken over, like he was an IT guy who turned into a business owner who had been out of IT for quite a while. Like
Okay.
so he was in IT like say 15 to 20 years ago.
Okay.
So he turned into a business owner and he's been out and then but he figured, well, I'll use Chat GPT and long story short, he asked Chat GPT how to configure his old Avaya on-premise system a certain way and it just it just like he almost he it was so bad that he almost bricked it. Like
Okay.
if Chat GPT could have burnt down this like could have melted the server, I think it would have, right? So I go in there and I start, okay, and of course there was no configuration backup or anything that we could find. So we just had to go in and reconfigure things and he was like, well, Chat GPT said do this, do that. But I think it was a combination of I mean, it may not have been just Chat GPT that was wrong. It may just have been a little bit of overconfidence, I think,
Mm,
but I guess it was his system. So
absolutely.
yeah,
I think it's a good way to think because sometimes people will come into a new skill with ChatGPT and just think the skill can be made by ChatGPT and they'll just do what the ChatGPT said, but
yeah,
you have to actually be the one that has the skills and
yeah,
only use ChatGPT for like you said, like a little tool to help you do a script, but
yep,
you know how to read the script and not just take the script and go with it and then it doesn't work and then you
yeah,
like play catch with it. So
yeah,
that's a bit angle of like people sometimes forget because they think they always have the right answer from ChatGPT.
yeah. Yeah, and that's the key right there because I've heard stories of people deleting like entire databases and entire document sets
Oh
because
no.
they asked ChatGPT for a script and they didn't know,
Yeah.
right? Like if you ask Chat GPT to optimize your SQL database and all of a sudden there's a drop table in there, like
Uh-oh.
exactly, right? And stuff like that happens.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so you gotta at least the key is to know
Mhm.
what it's to understand when you as a person have reached your limit to what you can successfully verify as being a correct answer kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like if you want to set up a test environment with fake data and all that stuff and play with it, good, right? That's how you
Mhm.
learn. But
Yeah.
if you're writing, optimization scripts or, all these scripts with Chat GPT and you're dumping them in a live data source somewhere, yeah, yeah,
So coming back to your 2 years into business,
yeah.
what's been working well for the business that you felt maybe wasn't something you expected to go well? What went well?
Well, what I find is going really well is actually goes back to um, being as versatile as I can,
Hmm.
right? So one of the things I have found, and I've worked for businesses across North America, and I've worked with not necessarily in my business, but in the past, I've worked with clientele from all over North America, specific and with a huge focus in like Ontario and Quebec and
Hmm.
and those areas, but also in the States and whatever. And one of the things that I find here in southern Nova Scotia where I live is that a lot of businesses, whether they're small or medium in size, they want as much of a single point of contact as they can get.
Hmm.
So I have customers that want me to be, a web developer essentially. Like but they don't really necessarily want me to be the web developer. They just want me to be the tech guy. And they'll
Mhm.
say like, well, we need to do updates to my website. Can you go out and find somebody to do it?
Okay.
Or like, so that it's almost, in a sense, there's a lot of customers here that seem to want me to be like a general contractor
Mm,
in the construction industry where I can subcontract to, and that way though I've been able to build I've been able to build a small pool of resources that if I need somebody that can come in and write a an extension or an add-on for WordPress, or that I need somebody to come in and, really dig into database issues and things like that. Like I've got people that I can contract to that can come in and do that for me, right? And my customers so far seem to really like having just one person who kind of maintains their IT, and then when they have a trouble, they, you know, say, hey Dennis, uh, can you go, um, you know, find someone who can do this, and they'll, I know what their budgets are, and I know what they're willing to, to pay, and
okay.
y- you know, um,
So
so
they give
that's something I didn't expect, but that's something that I find that's working, that's working really well. And I guess it's surprising, and maybe it's because I'm still in the building phase. Like maybe when I get further down the road and I'm not building the core services so much and I've got my
you.
base customers, like maybe I won't need to do that as much, but it's
Yeah.
working. It's
It,
you know
it
it,
sounds like they have like a confidence in you of
yeah,
like finding the right people, because a business just telling you what they want to spend on like marketing or web design, it's not really your market. So it's like
yeah,
why they go with you for that kind of information. So I guess you just have good relationship with your
yeah,
clients, which bring that side, which is good because then you meet other businesses, you can talk with other people from
yeah.
businesses, learn from them. So it's a good thing. What kind of businesses do you niche at? Do you have like a niche specific, or do you have like broad anyone?
I uh I've been focusing primarily on the small medium
Yeah.
size, like so the smaller size of the medium businesses. And again, there's a lot like in the area that I'm in, there's a lot of like there's a lot of small businesses that have like high profit margin, like that make a lot of money,
Mhm.
right? And that,
Okay.
so there's when there's manufacturing, there's
Mhm.
industry supply companies, there's all kinds of stuff. And a lot of times, there's companies that are based around, they have two or three unique products that are for, commercial fishing, or that are
Huh.
for, something like that, right? And so there's a lot of those businesses around here, and they might have, you know, less than 10 employees, or they might have 5 employees, or, and then I've got some that are 30 or 40, right? So
Nice.
and you know I also do, I also do some contracting, so I have I do some contracting for another company some from time to time as well. A friend of mine owns a business that's very similar to what I do, so oftentimes if I need a second pair of hands, I
Mhm.
can call on him, or if he needs a second pair of hands, he can call on me,
Hmm.
and we both help each other out. We both cover slightly different niches on a lot of things. He does like more like governmental and municipal type contracts and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I have been focusing more on like private business and stuff. And so we really complement each other very well, and we've become really good friends.
Nice.
And yeah, and I've contracted quite a bit for him. And when I need somebody, I can call on him. He calls me up, and we just sometimes we're on the phone troubleshooting something, just because he needs a hand, right? And
Yeah.
I, I'm not in this to make enemies, and I
No.
mean, we don't we don't steal each other's customers,
Mhm.
at least not that I know of.
No.
And
Not yet.
not yet. And I mean, like, I've had, I've had at least one instance where, I've had somebody approach me and ask them for help, and when I asked, you know, who, who was doing your I think what they were doing is they were fishing for like a cheaper price is what they were looking for. And I asked who was I asked who was doing their tech support, and it was my friend. And I just said, well, I said I think this might be a conflict of interest. know,
Mm.
and it wasn't like a huge contract or anything, and it's not like it's one of those things. I'm not here to create enemies, especially with someone that I consider a friend, right? So,
Mhm.
maybe that'll come back to bite me in the future, but I do try to stand for integrity too, right?
No, I like that mindset because you hear a lot of people in business who would like backstab people or just
Yeah,
like go into grab contract or just whatever, do what they need to do to make that money. And even being a solopreneur sometimes can be lonely. So when you have like someone that you can connect with and
yeah,
actually go with, and that's just a good, not a partnership, but like a good friendship to have
yeah,
to keep you like when you have those bad days and you're like, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, I don't know, you just
yeah.
call that guy that does the same thing as you, and then you can chat and actually grow with it.
Exactly, exactly. And again, like he's a solopreneur as well. So and again, like I've made more money contracting for him
Hmm.
over the past year and a half than I would have if I would have taken on this customer, right?
Hmm.
So right there, even on a business level, if there was no friendship involved, it wouldn't make sense for me to go after that customer.
Yeah.
But again, like I'm not here to make enemies, and there's enough business to go around that I don't need to be, stepping on my friend's toes, and
I like that.
yeah.
And so we talked about the easiest thing about the business. What's the biggest challenges? We talked a little bit about learning all the business side. What was one of the challenges you have?
Marketing has been one of the struggles that I've had. I've kind of started to figure that out a little bit. Luckily, being a smaller, very tight-knit community area where I am here in like the local three counties here, like once you do like here, your reputation is everything.
Hmm.
So once like because it's kind of an everybody knows everybody sort of area, and once you start like if you start doing things that people don't like, then word starts to travel. And but on the other hand, when they like someone and when you have a good reputation, that also travels fast,
Yeah.
and people start to talk, and they say, well, I've got, this guy's coming and he's doing my tech support, or he's doing my, he set me up with this and he takes care of all my stuff. Then all of a sudden I get a phone call saying, oh, well, so and so, told me to give you a call. He said you've helped him out and you do his tech stuff, whatever. Can you help me out? Let's have a meeting. Let's see what we can do. And so that is how I've gotten the majority of my clientele so far.
Good.
I've done radio advertising, I've done newspaper advertising, like the old style stuff.
Yeah.
That was an absolute waste of money. Like I don't know, I probably spent close to $10,000 on radio ads, and it didn't make a difference at all. Like I had three or four people tell me they heard my radio ad and that was it. Like
Hmm.
never and so like I just never saw the return on investment in those things. Maybe in the future, when I've got the disposable income to maybe throw more into it.
Mhm.
Right now any profit I make, it serves me better into going back into um, some digital advertising like on Facebook or Google. Those sorts of things work a little bit. Have helped me build my Facebook presence a little bit. But like just marketing online, short like video shorts like Reels and TikToks and stuff have actually worked much better than anything else.
Okay. So, but do you want to stay in the little area that you are? You try to expand out of it a little bit.
I've been trying. So my digital advertising, I've been trying to expand. So
Okay.
I want to expand. Ultimately, I want to expand within the maritime provinces. Um, but because of the work I do, there's nothing stopping me from expanding far beyond that, right?
Yeah.
So I have connections all over from all the jobs that I've had over the years, and
Mhm.
um, and again, because of what I do, being an MSP and tech support organize or person, and I guess I could say organization, but it's only an organization of one.
Yeah.
But I can do this mostly remotely, right? Because
Yeah.
even when I'm working on my customer stuff that are local, it's still really remote, right? Because I'm logged into their Microsoft 365, which is in a data center somewheres, or I'm logged into, one of their other applications, or I'm managing their, antivirus or whatever, right? And,
Yeah.
so it's all remote really. I do have some customers that really like to have that, like, can you come to my office and meet with me kind of thing.
Okay.
But some customers don't care about that, right? So there's,
Yeah.
I my goal is to market, you know, beyond the local area
Okay.
as time goes on. Yep.
Perfect. And you said you tried digital marketing, Facebook, Google. Did you try what did you try for the digital marketing entirely?
I was using some Google ads.
Yeah.
I've ran some Facebook ads. I've done the boosted
Okay.
posts. I've done, I've even worked on optimizing my website and stuff for SEO, that kind of thing. All the standard, the basic stuff, I guess.
Yep.
You know, I, I've I've seen a lot of people working on like paid content kind of stuff where they get someone to create and promote like TikTok videos, or
Yeah.
we've got a couple of people local that actually have done quite well with making videos for local companies and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So those are the kind of things that I want to try next, would be to paid content, that kind of thing. Seems to work really well. But
Okay.
one of the things is I have a boring business, right? Like IT is not a fancy, like y- y- like people think of IT as an expense and not
Yeah.
like even internal. Even if I were working for you, or maybe not you, but someone like yourself or whatever, or another organization, they see
Hmm.
IT as being an expense and not a revenue driver, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I think a lot of like businesses that could really benefit from IT services don't, because it I have to do a better job at going in and saying, here's how your business can improve. If you
Yeah.
spend so much a month, here's how we can improve, and we, can increase your revenue, or, whatever, right? Or decrease expenses.
Absolutely. Or save you from all those fees if you get cyber hacked by something, and then you can
Exactly.
add some stuff onto that.
Yep.
So okay, so I think marketing wise that's good. So with those marketing, what's the goal in the next 6 to 12 months, that if that works, or just the goals in general? What is
Yeah. I would like to see in the next 6 to 12 months, I would like to be able to hire my first employee.
okay?
That would be ultimately what I would like to see. I would very much like to also, at like right now, like I can operate everything virtually. At some point though, I think I would like to have like an office somewheres, where I could, like I don't know. I guess that's something I've always kind of thought would be really cool. Would be to have like an office space somewheres, right? Where
Yeah.
customers could come in for a meeting, or they could, some customers would, like I have customers that live like close by to where I live, and some of them will even say, hey, can I drop, instead of you coming over and fixing this or whatever, why don't I just drop off my computer and you can re-image it, or you can fix it,
Hmm.
I'll drop it off to your place or whatever. I mean, that's just a convenience thing, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think someday I'd like to have an office just so that I could, I've been working from home for probably over 15 years now,
Yeah.
and
Get outside of it.
yeah, and it would be nice to just be able to go out and, have a place to go. But I mean,
Absolutely.
it's not an absolute must at all. It's just, it would be really good to have. I think it would be cool, but first and foremost would be to have enough business that I can really justify, bringing on somebody else to
Okay.
help with it. Yeah.
So that actually that was my next question. I was about to go like, what's the difference between right now and the first employee? What's missing there? Is it like 20 clients or 15?
Uh,
Like,
yeah, I don't know if it would be say 15 or 20, but maybe another 10 clients,
okay,
kind of thing.
because that
It's really hard. Like that's a question that I would really have to
put your head
that
on.
would it would depend on, how much overhead that creates for me as far as the administration goes, and of
Yeah,
course what my accountant says, and
yeah.
all that stuff, right? So, it would be, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So, I would say around 10-ish,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know, um,
But you,
yeah.
you already have an accountant, or you already have somewhat of an employee, but you want like an IT employee really
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like my accountant is just, I pay him to like a couple times a year to do a few things, and that's
Okay.
about it, right? But he advises me on, you know, what type of, like I just got a new vehicle, and he
Mm,
advised me on the type of vehicle to get that's beneficial to the business and that kind of
okay.
stuff, right? So, yeah.
Perfect. So before we close, Dennis, for the listeners who wants to learn more about Southwest, sorry, goddamn,
Yeah.
tech solution, or connect with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, my website is swtechsolutions.ca. Or my email is Dennis at swtechsolutions.ca. Those are the easiest ones. I mean, uh, if anybody wanted to, they could even call me at 902 400 3978. Sound like a TV advertisement, but
There you
but
go.
yeah. And you can find me on all kinds of different socials: Blue Sky, Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. So
Perfect. So
yeah,
thank you again, Dennis. So thanks for your time. That was a good conversation.
good.
So thanks.
I I enjoyed it. Thanks, Maxime.
Thank you.